TV. You are a faithful viewer of Crossviews. We are happy to know that you are one of those who always go to the live broadcasts of Crossviews on social media. I will always go to CMTV Buzz and you'll get our programs there on YouTube. Today we have two gentlemen here to analyze things for us, including you out there. And first of all, I want to welcome Dr. Busi Enes from the University of Buea. You are highly welcome to Crossviews today.
Thank you, Mr. Mwambo Williams. Thank you, my co-panelist, the CRM politician, Mr. Njomo Siri. I've not been here for more than a week, and I think that I'm back. I want to greet everybody behind the camera and the management of CMTV. Mr. Moderator, permit me to say one or two things with due respect. A lot of issues have been evolving in our country in the past weeks, Mr. Moderator. And we are talking of good governance in Cameroon. The council session held in Kumba Council, Mr. Moderator, and can you imagine that the attendance sheet got missing? And we are talking of good governance and accountability in this country, and we think that we must put government officials into task. And also, Mr. Moderator, the CPDM party also held a meeting to sanction some of the recalcitrant members in the party, like Lord Mayors and other members of government. And it was chaired by the former member of former Prime Minister and Head of Government, Peter Mafani Musonge. And those are issues of party discipline. And we have been saying here that party discipline has advantages and disadvantages in our democracy. And we have seen instances where young politicians have faced a lot of consequences in party discipline in our country because of their deontology. And lastly, Mr. Moderator, there is an issue of the Limbe Port Authority where the office is decrying, or they are decrying whether the Limbe Deep Sea Port will finally come as a reality, because we think that the Limbe Deep Sea Port was supposed to have been given since to the Anglophone regions, because we feel that the Kribi Seaport is not deep and natural as a Limbe Seaport, and we need the Limbe Seaport as fast as possible so that ships can anchor and business can boom in that area. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Doctor. Maybe we'll still be coming to some of those points that you've made clear to us. At this time, I want to welcome a die-hearted militant of the Cameroon Renaissance movement for the Southwest region, Mr. Njomo Siri. You are highly welcome to Crossviews today.
Thanks, Mr. Moderator, for having me. Good evening to my co-panelist, Dr. Busi Enes, one of the finest minds the University of Buea now proud itself to have amidst them. Permit me also to greet the team behind the camera and our audience here. It's a full house today, and we are so happy to know that tonight we will be talking about interesting stuff as far as nation building is concerned. I would like to draw some inference from the papers. Nouvelle Expression, the French newspaper from Douala, titled today the battle between a traditional ruler in the western region for Sokunju, who fears a war with the New Deal of President Paul Biya's CPDM party, that since 1982 that they came to power, they have practically been selling dreams to Cameroonians and nothing has followed suit. He goes further to worry himself about the legacy that Mr. Biya is going to leave to Cameroonians, and he is praying that let the transition that has already started shouldn't take place amid bloodshed, given that the two restive regions of Northwest and Southwest have already given a leeway to bloodshed, and he fears that the 8 other regions might surely follow suit if nothing is done. In the same paper, the issues of some 13 senior divisional officers that, according to the law, are supposed to stay in office from 3 years maximum, but following some presidential decree, some 13 SDO have seen their mandate extended to about 9, and 9 is just the maximum for them to stay to office. And so the paper was wondering what can motivate the head of state to allow SDO to maintain themselves at a particular division for
maybe strategic reasons.
Yeah, if you go further in the paper, especially in page 19, page 7, you are going to see more detail about that. Still with the nouvelle expression, they were talking about the selective council of the CPDM, that some militants were brought to book, just that they selected only some small fish. One of the big wins, we were expecting to have some political barons. Some like Paul Atanganji, who happened to be a militant of that political formation, and others that towards their action have sometimes distance themselves from the party lines.
Yes, let me stay with you before I come to Doctor. We'll talk of party discipline here. If you see an organized party like the CPDM party that has a disciplinary council and has to judge maybe ministers, mayors, people of caliber like that. What's your take about party discipline here?
Before taking precedence to Professor, to the director of the CPDM Party Academy, Professor, I've forgotten his name. Golen, yes, because he will be present at the CMTV Media either today or tomorrow, something like that, to talk about the place of the disciplinary council in a party like the CPD. I want to say that it's a good initiative. If every party, I know in the CRM we have the committee for disciplinary council that is headed by I'm forgetting the terms. Yeah, but there is a commission for litigation. Yeah. Yes, in every party, and I'm sure in our own constitution is section B, Article 7, something like that. So in every political party, this commission of arbitration and litigation is supposed to exist so that it brings recalcitrant militant to order. Just that what we observe with the case of the CPDM is that they selected those, especially former mayors that whose mandate were not rebuilt, that the party dropped them during the last February the 9th twin elections. So most of those former mayors and the former parliamentarians were called for a disciplinary council, and we were also expecting to see former ministers or current ministers that towards their action have defied the party lines, but unfortunately we do not have them. So some paper like Mutation titled that it was a selected disciplinary council, and the big fish were avoided, where so many party militants were expecting them to come to book.
Okay, although in the days ahead we'll be taking it as a main topic, but Doctor, I want to have your idea. Don't you see that such a committee, they may use it like a place to settle scores in their political family?
Mr. Moderator, you are right. To an extent, such committees are used to settle scores. But party discipline still remains very important because it keeps the party going, because we are talking of issues of deontology. Because before you are a member of a political party, you must have a card, a membership card. And if you have a membership card, you must respect the rules and regulations of the parties. But many a times, Mr. Moderator, when you look at politics, there's what we call technocrats. And you will find out that, especially in the CPDM, the technocrats are the members of the Central Committee. And when you see some of these technocrats, especially members of the Central Committee, party representatives like regional delegates and divisional delegates, because they have regional delegates and permanent divisional delegates. And you see that such personalities have a lot of powers. And many at times they are the one who even dictate who will stand as a councillor, who will stand as a mayor. In the party. Those are the technocrats. And many at times they enforce certain rules and regulations that affects the people in the cell, the common people in the cell negatively. And we want to say that, Mr. Moderator, party discipline is good, but to an extent, party discipline also is not good, especially to those who are very low in the political party, especially at the subsection level, because those at the higher level use those sanctions against them. Because as we are saying, contextually, as Mr. Njomo was saying, you hardly see top members of government to be caught by the central committee or the committee for to sanction them. Have you ever seen a minister, like in CPDM, you always see ministers come out. They just say things and they call the name of the president of the republic. And there are things that they say that is against the norms and deontologies of the party. But you can never see them being sanctioned. But when you see mayors and councillors who are at the grassroots do one or two misfortune because they are not respecting one or two the barons, it becomes an issue to sanction them. So I think that party discipline is good to a greater extent, but party discipline is good when there are some values and there are some morals that are kept in place to shape the deontology of the party. Don't you see
division at the lower level of the party? Because when maybe grievances have started coming out, maybe there start being some chaos.
I've observed that because I feel that in the 2011 elections, I was part of the CPDM campaign group in my village before the Anglophone Crisis. I saw that especially those who are at the level of the subsection of the party, they have no powers. And many at times when the barons come from Yaoundé, at times you see budgets that has been given for campaign, given to those barons for campaign issues. When the subsection presidents and the section president even ask for money, when the money is not available, you see those barons from Yaoundé they bully them.
Yes.
And those are the kind of things that I said, technocrats in political parties, most at times, they go against the rules and regulations of the political parties, but they blame those who are at the base. So we think that party discipline is good, but to an extent, it is not also good, especially when those people up use their powers and their authorities to subjugate those who are below.
Moderator, I just want to add one or two things. When you see those who headed the committee, most of them are elite party members. They are not party members that have grown from grassroots to the position that they occupy today. And that's why you see one of the militant that was called to book the vice or the deputy mayor of Yaoundé 6, Saint-Éloi Bilou, says that somebody like the former prime minister, he is questioning himself whether he has once become a subsection president. Because most of them eventually became CPDM top
barons because of positions.
Nominated to the
I can remember Prime Minister Musonga left from CDC as general manager to prime minister.
So you see that this kind of question that Saint-Éloi Billion was asking is actually referential. It can draw its origin from the grassroots to see that most of those militants that started politics from subsection to section
and so on
actually are not hurt, and instead the one that are being questioned by those who are nominated. And that is what really poses me a problem when you talk of party discipline. Truly, who is disciplinary, who based on which engagement? It's not because of position. That shows a mastery of the functionality of a house. But those who have grown through the house can sometimes act according to context and pretext. I think all those situations need to be put together to know whether truly the disciplinary council that just ended was fair and transparent.
Can the discipline extend to their maybe offices? Because if they embezzle state funds and so on, they disgrace the party. Do you approve of that?
I think for the few cases that I have as reference, the case of Atangara Mara, who is a senior deputy director in the Ministry of Communication, the case of Saint-Éloi Bidou, and so many other cases, the case of the former mayor of Kekem in the Western region, for example. There are cases of fund mismanagement, truly, as you rightly pointed, but there are also cases of utterances in communication. When you go on air representing the party and you take upon yourself to make certain declaration. But I'm asking myself, there is a CRM, the CPDM baron in this country who went on a media and call for the eradication of the Anglophone community in Cameroon.
That's his speech.
That is MP Bengono. He's now an MP, and he was recently promoted into the Constitutional Council also. So instead we saw a promotion. So what I can say is, when you look keenly in the inner house of the CPDM, you see that those who have their godfathers and who pay allegiance to their godfather are hardly touched when disciplinary situation like this come. But it's not the case with these few names that are self-made personality that grew from the grassroots and have made their name with time. So I want to say that this is the kind of side justice that we say there's no independent judiciary in our system. To say that, okay, we are talking about a disciplinary committee that also represents to an extent the judiciary system in a country. But how independent is this disciplinary committee? That is a question I'm posting.
But talking of a disciplinary council, without if some of this council, or maybe they have a code, or maybe a law code that they follow, does it not make it so difficult? Because at times they just take some of maybe a lower member talks at a respected done in the party, that brings the person to be called a recalcitrant member of the party.
Mr. Moderator, there's always code of conduct. And I want to say that when you look at party discipline in the case of Cameroon, contextually, it goes with the political culture of every party. And when you look at it in our own context, you see that party discipline, especially the barons in the political party, as we have earlier said here, you hardly see them running in for grassroots politics. But you see them in position of government, that heavy position of government, like most of them are ministers, most of them are former members of government. And when you see people like Professor Elvis Ngole, many a times they come out of, they come to the social media, they come to the television, and they talk. Many a times when they talk, they must call the name of the president of the republic to cover their names. But when you look at grassroots politics is different, because those who go in, like mayors and parliamentarians, they have different ideologies, the way they run their political affairs, because a parliamentarian or a mayor do most of a kind of decentralized governance, which is different from the centralized governance, because those who are the center, they want to show power to those who are at the grassroots. But looking at party discipline and looking at political parties and partisan politics, you understand that the politics of a country is more, especially in a country where there's democracy and decentralization. The politics of a country lies in local governance. And I feel that these people in the local governance are not respected to a greater extent, because look at the SDF. Mr. Moderator, if you want to be a mayor, whether you like it or a parliamentarian with the SDF, there are some royalties that you must give the chairman of the party. And if you cannot give, that's why they'll say you are not respecting the deontology of the party, meaning that party discipline cuts across every political party. And same with CRM. They also have their own laws and their norms. There's no way that a militant can just get up and say anything that doesn't respect the rules and regulations of the party. But I still feel that party discipline is not very democratic in the context of Cameroon, because we have seen system whereby you see a minister feels that he's an all and all. He's a member of the central committee, he's a minister, and he holds a position again in the political bureau of the CPDM. And those who hold position of political bureau, they feel that they are the kingmakers. And whatever they say, it must stand. And they go against the deontologies of the parties to subjugate those who do local governance.
When I was going through the papers, somebody made a statement that that's what late Mayor Ekuma went through.
Because the barons of the party were against his ideology.
Yeah, and he was that kind of person. He hits any side that he likes.
And that's the same thing I'm saying, because the late mayor was mostly doing local governance. But the political bureau of the CPDM feels that he must listen to the central system, because what we are also facing is the over-centralization of power as it concerns our political parties. Because whether you like it or not, Yaoundé owns they are the alpha and omega because they have the budget, they have the finance, they have everything. When it's time for political campaign, it is Yaoundé that gives money to the sections, and the sections now give money to the subsections, and so on. So they feel that they must use their power and their authority, but that's not the case. We also feel that there are barons in the party that have brought up utterances that are against the deontologies of the party because they have their money, because they have their connection, and so on. They have never been sanctioned because they are members of the political bureau and the central committee, because the heart of the party is the members of the central committee and the bureau.
Why we take a ban on this? How effective is party discipline at the Cameroon?
I would not like to further fertilize a party that has no interest to Cameroonian. I think we better move to serious things because we are distracting Cameroonian.
I'll just
how meaningful it is helping the layman who is following us.
How effective?
We have wasted already 20 minutes talking about the topic that their representative is not on the platform.
Mr. Njomosiri, how effective is party discipline?
It has no effective in the life of Cameroon.
How effective party discipline?